La 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 la. Man.
So I just wanted to share another one of my gifts that TLC don't really know about. And I do write poetry. And my family is full of comedians. So I'm just going to share two. This one was inspired actually by a play that Wayne and I were in. And it's simply called To Train a Man. The responsibility of a father is to train his son to become a man. Unfortunately, many have left that job in a woman's hand. The task was given to man by God to raise the one who represents the heavenly authority in an effort to create divine order, not water down the responsibility given or have the word packed and leavened. But we must be willing to carry out our job. It is necessary for the benefit of society that we train a man. Women have done a good job filling in for those among the missing, those who went through the motions involved in the acts of sex, then on to the next, taking no thought of or for the consequence, leaving these boys without an example, not even a sample to follow, no one to show them the ropes, give them some hope of achieving their dreams. Instead, they are subjected to the mean streets, feeling the heat of a life without a father that was there to train a man. It is, however, time, my sons, to break the cycle. You must stand up for yourselves. You are entitled to be of good courage and good cheer, even though the one you need has disappeared. How do I succeed, you ask, to fulfill such an arduous task? You must turn to the one who can, without a doubt, train a man. You see, there is a man that lived like no other, one who was said to be closer than a brother. He was an example for all men to follow. He lived and walked among those considered to be the worst, but his desire was to free them from the curse that had them bound in slavery. They couldn't see, but he was bold and he was strong. He was wise beyond comprehension, and I don't want to forget to mention that he can train a man. He knows his emotional side when it's appropriate to do so. He knows what the right answer is when you don't. He can handle the trials of life, deal with the hate and strife. Oh yes, he was hated, but that didn't deter him from his mission. It was for men he was fishing, so he could show them a better way. He said, all who are burdened and heavy laden, come unto me and I will give you rest. This is not a test, but he is the great I am, and he is able to train a man. Woo! This next one, it was originally entitled Alone Inside, but as I started writing, it kind of took a different turn. So right here I have it entitled Alone Inside, but I think I'm going to call it Silent Cry. So as you listen to it, you let me know when I finish which one fits it. Loud, noisy, cluttered, crowded, jammed full of people and signs that create emotion and foster action. Conversations happening, minds wandering, thoughts provoking, mental signals that travel in fashion. Exchanges on the interchange of relational conquest that spark feelings of superiority or inferiority when confronted by confrontation, putting a backspin in motion. But do you hear me? Crying out amidst the noise of the population engulfed in the trance of captivation. I'm silently crying out in the midst of this commotion called life, waiting for someone to acknowledge this quiet voice screaming at the top of my lungs, tight from the lack of oxygen being siphoned from my esophageal tract. I'm trying to get back with gasps of deep panic. I'm not ranting, but no one hears me or sees me. Can you feel me? Yes, you see me living life as if everything is fine, and I don't mind because sometimes people's issues are too deep to take the time. You got your own problems, issues, situations, and trials, and you haven't dealt with them in a while. But right now I'm trying to speak, and don't you take me as weak, but this silent cry is louder than you can imagine. Quiet, silence, hush, shut up, gag, stifle this bellowing in my mind, overpowering every thought that should be held captive by the desires of my flesh. It is hard to express with closed tongue desires that go unmet, unnoticed, or disregarded. Feelings of disappointment fill my members to capacity, and rage fills my spirit, bursting with cries filled with highs and lows. Which way do I go? Where do I turn? Who do I turn to? Because no one hears my silent screams. It even appears that God is not listening as I bow the knee of my soul, begging for his ear to hear my silent cry. Why does he not listen, or better yet, answer? Is he not the chancellor, or judge, ruler, overseer? For those who can't understand, words have power. Yet in this hour I refuse to make known verbally what my heart boils inside. I seem to be spinning my wheels, moving in one direction, monotonously achieving no momentum through this valley of the shadow of death. God, I call out to you, the one who is my present help in troubled time, the one who is my peace when the storms of life rage like a caged beast. Nevertheless, it seems my silent groans go unnoticed. Separated, isolated, abandoned are emotions that run through the stratum of my interior, causing a variety of effects. Though sometimes surrounded by those whose emotions are tied to mine, I slip into a chasm of seclusion that erodes the very fiber of my state of spirituality that I claim to be. On top of the world I profess to be, but it's clear to me I'm not where I should be, but I'm not where I used to be. But that doesn't set me free from the influence of the enemy, playing games with my intellect to keep me in a state of confusion. So I believe the illusion that lies has been telling since the beginning of time, and I wonder why the deafening sound of my bitter cry is drowned out by such insensitivity. People, do you hear me? God, do you care? How am I feeling about this state of affairs? I do not dare to bring accusation against anyone, anybody. Somebody just listen. Can you hear my quiet voice screaming yet? Do you sense that I may be upset? Don't worry, I know it's not your fault. I'm just trying to find a way to halt this negative progress before things become a mess. Reaching, stretching, straining, pressing my way to find the reason why my wailing is dismissed as fruitless chatter. Or maybe that's not the matter at hand. Nevertheless, I raise the volume of my concern because the subject continues to return to the forefront of my mind, stealing my time of joy and gladness, stealing my praise from my voice, which I'm obligated to raise. So I must encourage myself to be still and recognize that God is God in the good times and in the bad. That's what the seasoned saints say, and it may be cliche, but it's true anyway. Looking for him through the lens of disappointment and pain, forcing me to strain persistently as I gaze at the disfigurement caused by the obstacles in my line of sight, stimulating my vision with images of fallacies designed to baffle, bewilder, bamboozle. At times I feel I've dropped my noodle, lost my marble. It's just horrible, continuing down this path that is clearly a figment of my imagination. It's time for a declaration. Understanding, accepting, perceiving, knowing that God's thoughts are higher than mine and his ways cannot always be defined. And yet, while I cry loudly inside, I realize he is the one who hears my plea, understands my cry, and even knows the reason why. But sometimes it's hard to grasp or hold or ascertain the appearance of his deferment concerning my situation. Why this hesitation? I need you now is my proclamation. You are the one who sticks closer than a brother when I've been disappointed by another who is supposed to be close, but yet is so far. Nevertheless, I can see clearly now. I don't know how I let myself succumb to this emotional turmoil, let my blood boil when everything I need comes from you. My peace in the storm, shelter from the rain. If I would just remember to call your holy name. So I settle down inside, cease from this incessant cry that has shattered the walls of my faith. Though it is silent, it speaks very loud, and I can admit that I'm not proud. But it is time to put the past behind, renew this thinking in my mind to that of the Christ kind. So the silence is silence, and I loudly decree, to God be the glory.
La 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 la.